I, Claudius. From tomorrow, the two will meet as BBC4 begins a repeat showing of the classic drama series first aired in 1976. Ranked highly in polls of the best TV dramas of all time. It was told from the confines of a BBC television studio adorned with lavish sets and a stellar cast, many of whom had been sitting in makeup since the early hours to make them look older. One of those actors, Brian Blessed, is here to regale us. But first, hear what the fuss was about, with one or two spoilers and lashings of fake blood.
This episode, entitled Reign of Terror, deals graphically with a violent and bloody period in a tumultuous reign, and scenes towards the end of the episode frankly depict the murderous mayhem of the time.
Forget Succession.
I don't like it. Do you understand?
Forget The Sopranos. Forget Dynasty. I, Claudius, tells the history of the Roman Empire and is as bloodthirsty and dangerous a setting as has ever been created for the small screen. Think the Mafia in togas.
I could kill you now.
This was the BBC's hugely successful effort to bring to life the novel by Robert Graves. In 1976, ancient Rome visited Shepherd's Bush as an impressive cast layered on the latex at the BBC's television centre.
I'll kill you! You wouldn't be emperor if it weren't for me.
I'll decide what to do with them later!
A Caesar salad of power, ambition, murder,
They poisoned Custer.
and sex. Told across decades, viewers were gripped by what, in many respects, was a feuding family soap opera.
Supposed to rule an emperor, I can't even rule my own family. Let me go, you fat, drunken cow!
Fat!
Plots were hatched,
I want a catalogue of my daughter-in-law's activities.
fruit was poisoned,
Don't touch the figs.
and backs were stabbed, as well as fronts.
I, Tiberius, Claudius.
And telling the story, in flashback, was Claudius, with his limp and his stammer.
I'm better when I'm rehearsed. If that head of yours doesn't stop twitching, I'll have it off.
Branded a half-wit, he was, in fact, the ultimate survivor, the ultimate politician, ducking and diving as his relatives schemed and overlooked him.
This is not a comedy theatre.
You want to live a long and useful life? In that case, exaggerate your stutter and your limp.
But you're not such a fool, are you?
Wine has made you bold, hasn't it?
You said you kept in with Caligula because he was to be the next emperor.
Lost your stutter too, I see.
But if by then you're dead, what difference can it make to you?
It took a while to win over the critics, but I, Claudius, was an instant hit with audiences. The series was enriched by numerous memorable scenes, many laced with dark comedy.
No divorce! You've been married 3 times already. How many more marriages do you want?
That's not my fault. I was widowed twice.
Well, how a woman can get herself widowed twice is beyond me.
And it produced this unforgettable moment when Brian Blessed, as Augustus, meets his end. Director Herbie Wise told Blessed he wanted to see Rome die on his face and kept the camera on him, unblinking, for several minutes. Tomorrow, BBC4 will put the machinations of ancient Rome on screen again. But can it grab a new audience? When compared with modern TV dramas, will it fall like the Roman Empire? Or, like Claudius himself, outlive them all? Well, I'm joined now by Augustus himself, the actor Brian Blessed. Brian Blessed, thank you very much for joining us. You didn't think you were going to get a part in Now, Claudius?
Well, no, I wasn't the director's first choice. I was in Z-Cars years before as PC Fancy Smith. And I was very late for one of his rehearsals one day, Herbie Wise, who was the doyen of the BBC. And he went off his nut. I'll get him sacked. I'll skin him. No one's ever late for me. And he hated me. I thought he did. So later on, they suddenly said, Brian, they're doing I, Claudius. And Herbie Wise is directing it. And he wants you to be Augustus Caesar. Yeah, no, this is a joke. This is a big joke. No. He wants. And I was cast. And you had people like George Baker, Patrick Stewart, and John Hurt, and Derek, and everybody, and Sean. Fantastic. The whole of the world was in it. Our greatest and best actors. And and the press are all there, and they said, "Oh, it's wonderful. The casting is wonderful, but Mr. Wise, we can't understand. Why have you cast Brian Blessed?" And he said, "We thought it might be, Paul Scofield or something like that." He said, "No. Because no one can shoot crap like Brian." And he's right. Augustus knows how to defeat the politicians because they talk crap.
But in the beginning, it was hard for the actors to get the tone of I, Claudius until the writer said, "Imagine it's the mafia." And then suddenly it was a light bulb moment.
I remember that day very, very well. I was kind of up for it, and I was being frustrated, and not able to use my arms or the togas or anything. And Jack suddenly said, "I couldn't write it." So I thought of the mafia. Mafia. Rome. Italy. You see, I then discovered, of course, and did research, of course, the Americans adored I, Claudius, even more than us, because they are the Romans. We didn't know what it was like to be rich in rehearsals. You could hold those up and it was 2 million quid and give it to a servant. We was immensely rich. We could have filmed it in Rome. It wouldn't have worked, etc.
But you filmed it in a television studio. And the extraordinary thing as well is we're looking back at it, I never missed an episode, it was like a theatrical performance. It was like a theatre. You had long scenes, long bits of dialogue, which probably wouldn't happen now.
But I don't think it's dated. Yeah. I think we now have to catch up. Yeah. The reality and the brilliance. The whole cast are brilliant. The directing is brilliant. The lighting, etc. And brilliant direction. So the whole thing would not be dated. I'm glad it's coming back on again. We've a lot to learn from it. You had to be true. You had to be real. I used to kind of defy the historians. I would not stand there with my toga like that, being Augustus Caesar. No, I'd do that. Or I'd wipe my face when I'm talking, or scratch my hair. And so it became, we were freed by this mafia thing. I could stroke people and kiss them and say, "I do like you, and I'm going to cut your bloody head off one day."
In the end, though, you're looking at me with unblinkingly there, and in the end, in your death scene, you were asked to lie unblinking for more than 5 minutes.
Well, Herbie, I came in one day, and Herbie, who had been in Z-Cars, my enemy, you might say, he then said, he was almost in tears. He said, "Oh, God, this week we're going to have to kill you. We love you so much, Brian." It was very sweet of him. "And I'm going to put the camera on your face for 5 minutes, and you'll be dead at the beginning of the shot." I said, "Well, it can't be done. When you see people dead on a screen, it's 7 seconds or they freeze frame. I want to see Rome die." And they said, and when it came to the studio, because Sian had about 15 pages of lines, so she wasn't on too happy, and the camera's on me, and say action. You.
Action. Well, there's a bit more of this interview to go.
And I went
Goodness
on
me,
for
don't
5
die.
minutes, and the whole nation said, "Have we seen the greatest death?" There's nothing like a good death.
But for a while, I, Claudius, with Robert Graves, it defied turning into television. It took a long time. It was called The Curse. Why did it take so long to bring it to the screen?
Well, there was a curse attached to it. It's going to be a sad story, this, in a way. There was a curse, and they tried to do it with Charles Lawton, and it didn't work out, and people got hurt, people got broken legs and arms and God knows, neck, and some died, and so forth. So we were all very aware of it. Graves came over and sat with me. He thought I was Charles Lawton. He was so mentally tired at the time. He thought I was Charles Lawton. I said, "Yeah, no, I'm not Charles Lawton." Anyway, he was saying that, he said, "I couldn't write it," he said, until I thought of the mafia and things like that. But what were you saying? What was the question?
What I was saying to you was that various attempts had been made to make it, but it had failed. And it was only when this television series got underway that you realised it could be made a success of?
Well, I mean, first of all, you could have filmed it in Rome.
Yeah.
Because you've got marble, you've got all the kind of Roman scenery there. And you could film it in America because you've got the White House and you've got Washington and you've got the Opera House in them. Yeah. The Americans adored I, Claudius. They could identify with it. And we couldn't understand how rich. I knew how rich they were because I served with the American Air Force.
Yes.
And I could impart my knowledge to them. But in actual fact, the Romans were so damn bloody rich. We based the Romans on the Americans in a way, and the Greeks were the English.
So this was your big moment. I mean, I, Claudius, was your big moment. You went on to do so much and you'd done a lot before. But there's things that you still want to do in your life. And one of them, Eric, you want to go into space. You've been training for space, you trained for space with the Russians, and now you think that you'll be the oldest man in space.
Well, I think it's wonderful that the Webb telescope is out there. Mm-hmm. Isn't that wonderful? All the kind of different galaxies, revealing all the planets and star systems. We're just beginning with children and so forth. I did training before Putin stopped behaving like a pillock. I did training in Moscow at Red Star with Catherine Destavel of France and other people and certain NASA cosmonauts. I did my full training there, and then I did training on Reunion Island in the Pacific with NASA. And I completed my training, and I'm a fully trained cosmonaut astronaut. My biggest love in life is space. We've got to get out there. We used to have...
Are you going?
Yes, we got Blue Streak, Black Knight. We used to have that in the 50s. We're lagging behind. We need more people like Brian Cox, bloody marvellous scientists.
And Brian Blessed in space.
Yes. I've done bloody Everest and I've been to the North Pole. I've been to the Lost World. I've been to these places, for Christ's sake. And I want to get up. I will not make a pact with old age. That is all crap.
Stay tuned just for a moment. Quick front pages on the Mirror, spies next door. The Telegraph, Russia's Northolt spy ring arrested. The Times, Russian spies accused of posing as journalists. Finally, The Guardian, Bulgarian suspected of spying for the UK security services. So here we are. It's almost all for us tonight. Victoria will be here tomorrow with a special programme on the eve of A-level results examining the challenges for the university sectors and students. Before we go, at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, UK time, England plays Australia in Sydney in the semi-final of the Women's World Cup. Both teams are aiming to reach their first ever World Cup final, which is on Sunday against Spain. So we thought, seeing as he's here, who better to give voice to all our hopes for the Lionesses than Brian Blessed. Good night and good luck.
It's coming home! It's coming home! It's coming! Football's coming home! Everyone seems to know the score. They've seen it all before. They just know, they're so sure that England's going to throw it away, going to blow it away. But I know they can play, because I remember 3 lions on a shirt. Jules Rimet still gleaming, 30 years of hurt. Never stopped me dreaming. It's coming home. It's coming home. It's coming. Football's coming home. It's coming home. It's coming home. It's coming home. Football's coming home. Come on, Lionesses!